welcome back to Tales from the PowerAge. Hope you're all well. Hi guys, how are you?
Hey.
Good, mate.
We're going to be talking Mötley Crüe. Look at that. We're going back to 1989 and the Dr. Feelgood tour. And, well, not according to the programme, it was the Girls tour, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. So we're going to be talking Mötley Crüe. Ironically, three of us went to this tour, but none of us went with each other. We weren't falling out, were we then?
Oh, there was a bit of a hiatus from one of the crew up the top there. Bit of a hiatus from the lads.
We'll there you go.
We'll go into that later.
I'd moved away. I'd moved to Birmingham, so I saw Mötley Crüe with a good friend of mine called Tommy in term one. So it was one of our first gigs. Now, before we get into some of the bump, if you don't mind, Gav, I'm quite often like reading a little bit from the programme. Sorry. And I'll just read you this first paragraph if you just indulge me for a moment, right? So, what's most important to a rock and roll band? To be voted number one favourite band for 3 years by the Readers' Poll of Hit Parade, or have a new album enter the Billboard chart at number 5 and ship platinum to boot. Any run-of-the-mill band would be happy for half of that, and then they'd sit on their arses and slide, wouldn't you? Not Motley. Well, hang on a minute. In 1988, Mötley Crüe were due to tour the UK in January, but they cancelled because there was snow on the roof.
Too much snow on the roof.
I'm not sure if that's a metaphor of what was going on at the time, but they were certainly not. They certainly weren't playing the UK. But anyway, let's go to some of the bump, Gav. Some of the press beforehand.
Yeah, this is here for context because it was quite a big deal on MTV, and even though we didn't really have it, I knew people that had it by this time, and they basically were doing a big Moscow Peace Festival gig, and it was all over MTV, and it was a real big deal. And this was just in the summer before they came to the UK, and obviously that included Skid Row as well as the Motleys. And yeah, it was quite a big deal. And
what a great lineup.
Part of Doc McGee's penance for drug-related stuff, allegedly.
Interesting. Another interesting fact on this, and Leon, tell us if I'm wrong. I've got a pretty good feeling you met Bon Jovi at Stansted Airport, flying out to the Peace Festival. So I'm guessing that was a stop-off on the way to Moscow. So.
Yeah.
Please let us know in the comments and give us a like.
Yeah, it's all over YouTube actually, so you can check it out. And Cinderella were particularly good.
Yeah, and they were on fire, weren't they, at the time?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So here's a copy of a couple of the tickets. So Jam Gaps, I think you went to Wembley, didn't you? Yeah, from memory.
Yeah, we both went to Wembley. Yeah, separately. I went with another great friend of ours called Naz. And we were especially looking forward to White Lion and Skid Row. It's going to be the first time we were going to see Skid Row and White Lion. Neither of us were big Crue fans, but yeah, I mean, you couldn't hold back from this. This was going to be immense because Skid Row at this time, they were just kicking off to be one of the greatest metal bands of the era.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, they were brilliant. And Gav and I had seen Skid Row in the summer supporting Bon Jovi, Vixen. And was there another band there as well? It was actually Europe who were the other band that supported. I can't believe I forgot that. Actually,
hell of a lineup, really, when you think about it. That is a lineup.
Yeah.
They were good. Okay, excellent. So, Jam, you went to London. Can you recall getting there, or how you got there?
Yeah. This is an era. This is a time, as we said. It's what year is it? Anyway,
89.
Yeah. We all enjoyed a drink. It was the hazy years, as I like to call them, between the age of 17, 18 and through to about the age of 24, where we enjoyed a drink and we liked going to rock shows. This particular one, I was out there. I was a full-time worker. I wasn't bumming around Birmingham Uni or whatever, just going to metal gigs. I was working for a living. And I worked in Gerrards Cross, just down the road, a couple of train stops down from Wembley, and Skid Row and White Lion were in town. So I got myself a ticket, piled on the train, went on my own, had a few beers in the pub, went along to the rock show. I wasn't a big Mötley Crüe fan. This is about now that I started actually starting to like them, because for me, this was we'll come on to the record, but for me, this is their first really decent album. But I loved Skid Row and I loved White Lion, and that was well worth the ticket alone. And I was curious about Mötley Crüe. I wanted to see what they were like.
Brilliant. Okay. Do you remember getting there? Do you remember getting the ticket beforehand? What drove you to buy the ticket?
Skid Row and White Lion. Me and Naz, who I went with, we were both massive White Lion and Skid Row fans. White Lion, they appealed to us because Vito Bratta, the guitar player, he sounded very similar to Eddie Van Halen. He was basing his style on Eddie Van Halen, but his solos were just absolutely immense, and we could not wait to see White Lion. But Skid Row were just going mega at this time. They were just absolutely unbelievable. Me and Naz went right down the front. Skid Row went on first, and they played a much longer set than White Lion, which was very, very strange when you consider it. If you'll see the set list in a minute, but they played a much longer set, and we were right down the front. We were on Snake Sabo's side of the stage. We were probably about 4 or 5 rows back, and they just absolutely blew the nuts off that place. They were just so good. The best hair in the world from Sebastian Bach. I mean, yeah, fantastic night that was.
Okay, brilliant. Early memories and from Gaps. So let's go to some of the tour press before the event. So Gav, do you want to just run us through that?
Yeah, our regular viewers know we love this stuff, especially the thing on the right, the tour announcement that you always saw in Kerrang and Sounds and what have you. That's a classic one.
And that's how you got your tour announcements back in the day, people.
Yeah.
No WhatsApp.
And Kerrang had already got to their classic logo style and tended to have people in front of it because it was so iconic you didn't need to read it all. So yeah, Mötley Crüe were getting a bit of advance tour news there, and yeah, it was a big tour, you know, for guys that hadn't toured much here and hadn't sold millions of albums over here. I guess that's the strength of the support bands allowed them to do the size of venues that they did.
Yeah,
but it was good because we'd seen the production from their videos. You know,
that's why they chose them, wasn't it?
We'd seen the drum kits and the various bits and bobs. So if it allows them to play places where they can bring the show, then that's fine.
Excellent. It's also the strength of the genre as well, I think, at the time, and MTV and everything else. Okay, excellent. And just as I mentioned earlier about the snow being on the roofs, it was still arenas, so it was good that they hadn't turned off the audience that were due to go and see them the year before. So some sold out shows there as well, which is great. So here's the merch. I've got which is the weirdest thing ever, this program, because it's a girls program. It's almost like they didn't sell them and put it back through the print and put the World Tour 89 on. Now, I'm pretty sure I bought this on the night. It looks knackered enough to be from the night. If I didn't, please let me know. And
weird, because it's not using the right logo either.
No, it's just girls. And actually, if you look inside the program as well, it's just this is a completely different era.
Tell us in the comments if you've got a different program at these shows.
Yeah.
I couldn't really find the right tour shirt either. I don't know if any of these are right, but or contemporary. There might be kind of.
I remember the back of the tour T-shirt with those words on it. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. There was also a Skid Row T-shirt as well, which our mate Tommy bought, which he sliced the arms off within about 5 seconds of buying it, with the Skid Row on the back and Youth Gone Wild from memory written on the back of the T-shirt. So that was pretty cool. But a little bit more about Skid Row in a bit. So.
It was a big era for profanity on T-shirts, wasn't it?
Yes.
But, your mum didn't like washing.
So let's kick off with Skid Row. So Jam, I'll come to you first, and then we'll go to Gaps.
Well, bold statement, but possibly the second best debut album of all time. I think we know the first one by a certain Mr. Guns N' Roses. This is absolutely banging. I absolutely loved it. Every song on the record is absolutely brilliant. It's got so much attitude. And when you said about Sebastian, he's so, and when he came up here, such an attitude the guy's got. It's hard to talk about him without actually then swearing, to be honest. This is a bit of a strange one because they just walked out. And I remember I went there specifically for Skid Row and White Lion, two of my favourite smaller but new bands at the time. And you couldn't get two more different new bands at the time. Skid Row were all about the attitude, and they just walked out and they just went, come on, and they just metaled their house so good. I was down the front to the left, and they went down like an absolute storm. Not many bands would go along to Wembley Arena, support one of the big boys, go on first of a 3 or 4 band, bill, go on and actually literally just grab hold of the place by the throat and just go, right, this is us, we're here. Making a mess of me starting off with. And they really did. They were brilliant. And Wembley Arena back in those days could be cavernous, couldn't it? But I suppose it's tricky because I was right down the front, but I was just mesmerised by them, and everyone went absolutely batshit. Of my actual memories from this one.
Good. Gaps?
Yeah, very, very similar to Jam. I mean, Skid Row, they were just about to go stratospheric after that record, and Mötley Crüe, to pick them as a support band for us, it was just great. Me and Naz went, and we were right down the front. Surprisingly, we were to the right of the stage, so that's why we didn't bump into Jammo at the time. And we were about 4 or 5 rows from the front. I remember Snake being there. They were just, the attitude, as Jam said, they just kicked so much arse. It was just amazing. And I reckon probably half the crowd were probably there just to see Skid Row. Because it was packed. It was absolutely packed. I don't remember, look at this set list now, I certainly don't remember him playing Holidays in the Sun, which is one of my favourite Sex Pistols songs of all time. And playing Cold Gin as well. I certainly don't remember that.
Nor do I.
All the songs they played off the album were just amazing. 18 and Life, Piece of Me, Rattlesnake Shake, You've Gone Wild. It's just,
it could have just been
so good.
It could have. It
Could have been, yeah. Could have been, but yeah. What that blew the place to bits. And for poor old White Lion to come on after, it must have been very, 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 very strange for them.
Yeah, I mean they were on fire, weren't they, at the time?
They're absolutely on fire. Yeah.
I can't remember, to be honest, much of this. I can remember some of the parts of the gig. I can remember something after the gig, which I mentioned in a few minutes. But this was, they were massive. This band. I think what's interesting, the number of songs that they played, 12 songs. I mean, it's almost like a full set list. If we think back to a Dio pod that we've done earlier, I think they only did 12 songs on a headline set at Oxford Apollo. So incredible to think that they were playing a similar amount of songs and probably for a similar amount of time. But it's hard to explain how massive they were at the time. If you think back to 1989, 1990, these guys were absolutely massive. So, yeah, big thumbs up for Skid Row. So next one is the mighty White Lion, who I personally don't think get as much kudos as they deserve. I think some of the albums, and this album in particular, Big Game, is an absolute brilliant album at the time. And when you think of those albums in the late 80s, this is one that really stands out. But as I've mentioned before, I think Mike probably, because he was such a good-looking guy, probably turned a few people off, or made the audience think that hadn't bought the records or listened to the records that maybe they weren't as serious as they were. But they are a super band, brilliant songwriting. And Mike Tramp actually is a really, really funny guy, really interesting stories. And on that note, I'll hand over to Gaps because he's got a bit of a story about what happened at Wembley Arena.
Yeah, so me and Naz have both gone to see White Lion and Skid Row. We'd gone down the front for Skid Row and we just absolutely gone mental. So even as a 19-year-old, we needed a little bit of a rest. So we moved back a little bit, probably halfway back to see White Lion because we just wanted to take them in. And we thought they were going to be immense and they were great. Mike Tramp told a little story about, because he's got Danish heritage, and he was talking about how much he wanted to play football at Wembley, and he got a lot of grief from the crowd, and we weren't very happy about it at all. But the songs they play, I mean, Little Fighter is one of the greatest songs they've ever done. Fight to Survive is great. Wait, the set list really a little too much ballady for probably most of the crowd in there. But we absolutely loved them. Vito Bratta was fantastic on the night. And you got James Lomenzo there on bass, who's at the bottom of the picture there, who's now in Megadeth. He's been in Megadeth before, and he's back in Megadeth now. So he's run the full gamut of metal. This bloke, the bass plays. It means, I mean, look at the hair as well. I mean, that's some hair, isn't it? Look at that. For those, that's what hair was like for metal bands back in the day. People, you know, I try to wear my hair now, but Jesus Christ, these boys, they were amazing. But they just didn't go down. I mean, just come on after Skid Row was just so hard for them. It really was. It was a very hard act to follow, and they did all right. For me, we thought they were brilliant, but most of the crowd around us were sort of really.
I stayed down the front, obviously.
Did you?
Chatting to myself and everyone around, and I probably White Lion for me. I bought Pride in a couple of years before that, 87, because it had Wait, which is one of my all-time favourite. At that point, it was like a great sort of pop rock song. I'd heard it on Friday Rock Show. I went out, bought the single. I think I bought the 12-inch. I bought the album, and it had When the Children Cry on. Now, if ever you've seen me on any of these pods, you'll know I always say, "Oh, it's got a ballad on it."
You don't like ballads?
I like ballads. What's the point of a ballad? Sod off or whatever. However, there's always got to be one exception, and When the Children Cry is an absolute beautiful.
So that total banger. Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's just one of those tracks that it's beautifully written. The songwriting from White Lion, in my opinion, the lyrics note is really, really great, and it's full of melodies as well. So with Wait and When the Children Cry, I was so looking forward to these. I stayed down the front. So again, you're a bit cocooned because you don't get the feel of what's behind you and what's back. I rarely look back. I'm too busy just looking and loving every minute. But there was a flat vibe. I thought they were brilliant, and they were. But after Skid Row, I mean, honestly, it was all about After the Lord Mayor's Show. It's so hard for them because no one was. They weren't swinging anyone that didn't already like them. They weren't getting. It just wasn't going to happen. I thought they were brilliant, and I loved them. And as you say, playing When the Children Cry to a Motley Crüe and Skid Row crowd, it's never going to go down that well.
2 ballads in a row as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you're like, what's going on now? As far as
Cry for Freedom's pretty much a ballad as well. So
yeah, that probably wasn't the wisest move.
No, but if you're a fan, which I was, I loved them. I hate bloody cover versions. I don't see the point. It just does my nut in. I think, why don't you play one of your own songs? If I wanted a cover version, I'd be in the pub or watching a covers band. I don't need that. However, again, with all things, Radar Love's brilliant, their version. I've always loved it.
Yeah.
It's just got such a vibe with the bass and everything. So, yeah, I love that. So, for once, I'm not slagging off the cover version.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's a turn up for the books. They certainly went down better in Birmingham. From what I can remember. And of course, Birmingham is Rock City in the UK. It's the home of heavy metal, where heavy metal was born. And they love rock music there. And actually, these were appreciated on the night. I think the one, I remember Wait particularly, I think that was really well received. Little Fighter, as you've mentioned, Gaps, great song. But also Radar Love. I mean, the crowd were going mental when they were playing that. And it was absolutely fantastic and a good way to finish their set. Mike went down well on the evening. I think he was really well loved, and the audience were loving it and getting ready for Motley Crüe. So yeah, just no complaints from the crowd in Birmingham on that night, and certainly no complaints from me and Tom, and everyone was just absolutely buzzing to see Crüe when they finished, which is interesting given you two guys maybe didn't get to see that full set. So Gaps, I'll come to you then. So we come to Motley Crüe, Gav. What were your memories of that set, Gappy?
Well, my abiding memory of this set was I heard the first 3 or 4 bars to Kickstart My Heart, and me and Naz decided to leave the arena. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a great song. Red Hot's a great song. Didn't see it. We were so pissed off with the entire crowd giving Mike Tramp loads of grief that we decided that we were going to leave early, and we just left after. Well, we saw about half of Kickstart My Heart, and to this day I probably do regret not seeing this set, because the set is really good, to be fair. But we were just so disheartened by the fact that the crowd had given Mike Tramp so much grief that we couldn't stay. We just couldn't stay, so we walked out.
Do you know what's really funny? you've got better memories of the gigs that you left than you have the ones you were there. If anyone's watched any of these pods before, if you haven't, go back and you'll know what I'm saying. Jam, what do you want to talk us through your experience of Mötley Crüe that evening?
Yeah, this, as I said before, I'd come across Mötley Crüe a few times, but this is the first time. That set list is absolutely immense. It's absolutely brilliant. I didn't appreciate them enough. I didn't go for Mötley Crüe anyway. I was curious, and I think a lot of people were curious about them because they got so much coverage in the press. It was they really did a great job of putting themselves out there. As far as Tommy Lee, I really wanted to see his drum kit because he was supposed to be like it was. He was going to do all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so for me, as far as the set is concerned, this is the first time of theirs. Thing that jumped out at me, Smoking in the Boys' Room as a cover. I never think of that as a cover. I always just think of that as a Mötley Crüe song.
No, yeah, I never heard the original.
No, do you know what I mean? But I just love that song. But all around, all the tracks on it, Looks at Kill, Wild Side, Girls, 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 Dr. Feelgood, Live Wire. It's really, really strong set. And Gappy, you must be gutted.
How many of the songs did you see then?
What?
How many songs did you see?
I saw a few. I didn't stay to the very end because as I said, it was 1989 and I had a habit to feed. I wanted to be back at the pub for last orders. And luckily I was only one stop down. And so, yeah, I saw a few more than you, but I did make an early-ish exit and I didn't get to see the drum kit do all the flashy things. So perhaps, Dill, what can you remember about the drum kit?
I do remember that. Right. So maybe
somebody actually stayed.
Slightly.
Oh,
yeah, Now, we stayed, but Tom and I did have a lot of study to do that later on in that evening and in the morning. But we thought we'd enjoy ourselves. It was a Friday night, I think, from memory and from the ticket. So, yeah, you're right. The set list was brilliant. I do remember the drum solo because, of course, the kit span around and everyone was going mad and he was chucking his drumsticks out and he had next to nothing on the kit. It was just, it was brilliant. The crowd were loving it. There wasn't one face in the arena that I can remember that wasn't enjoying it. Everyone was singing all the songs and words and just really getting into alley rock, so to speak. I think most people in Birmingham that night in the NEC probably thought they were on the Sunset Strip. And most of them looked like they were from the Sunset Strip anyway, for sure. But yeah, really, really good. I was talking to Tom actually earlier, and he was saying that was one of the best nights of his life. It was hilarious. I mean, we had a great time, and we used to go to a club called Edwards No. 8 after these big shows and stay there till 3 o'clock in the morning, and then go back and party after that. They were just brilliant, brilliant days. Those days, 87 to 89, 90, they were just fantastic, gigging all the time. But this was a really great show. And this was one of the first shows this was the first big show that Tom and I had been to. We've been to lots of the club gigs in and around Birmingham, but this was the first real big one. And we had an absolutely brilliant time. I can't remember if somebody came on at the end and did Jailhouse Rock. I've seen, I think Billy Idol joined one of the nights at Wembley. I can't remember if anyone came on, or whether the guys from Skid Row and White Lion came on at the end. Please comment at the bottom. Let us know. Tell us your memories from this night. But it was I
think that might be the Wembley set list there.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if Skid Row and White Lion joined. By the sounds of things, it was a much happier event in Birmingham than Wembley. Now, one thing that did happen on the way out, when we were coming out the NEC, I can't remember who'd given us a lift or how that had come about, but Tommy was in the front. And as we were driving out of the NEC, just randomly, there's some guy stood with his leather jacket on going, "Wow!" with hair down here. And, of course, outside KFC. And who was it? Sebastian Bach. And obviously everyone outwheel piled, and Tom got his Durex packet signed by Seb Bach, which he no longer owns, sadly. And it was just a brilliant finish to a brilliant show. And we went back, KFC in hand, fully pleased with a brilliant night. And I think probably off to Edwards No. 8 after that to party the night away. I mean, what more could you want when you're 18, 19? It was fantastic. So
I've got a fag packet signed before, and I've seen other things signed. I've never seen a condom. back it. Sorry.
No. So yeah,
If only he still had it.
it used to be on his wall in his room. Funnily enough, but yeah, they were good days. So so that was the gig. It was a big thumbs up from us in Birmingham that night. Gav, I think you've got some highlights from the reviews afterwards. So you want to just cover those?
Yeah, this was just I thought you might enjoy trying to read it at a later date, but it was a review from Sounds from Wembley. Yeah.
Interesting how much of that review is taken up with Skid Row's opening set when you consider that they're on first. A good half of that is about Skid Row, which is quite remarkable. Yeah. But just one other thing with regards to Mötley Crüe, we caught them in 2023 at Wembley Stadium with Def Leppard, almost like a double header.
Yeah.
And they've got so many fans. They've got so many fans. And that was that we did a Tour Talk special. So after you've watched this, if you want to check that out, Def Leppard, Mötley Crüe, and Mammoth Wolfgang Van Halen. And it was a great day. And Mötley Crüe were really great. They did a similar set. It's like a greatest hit set list, but similar to the one they played on this Dr. Feelgood tour. All the decent ones. They've got a hell of a they've got a massive backing. They've got massive support. And they've got a massive support that love to wear a T-shirt. I noticed that's what reminded me seeing you in your Crue T-shirt deal. They sold a shed load of.
There were easily as many Crue fans there as Def Leppard.
Massively supported band, really are in here in the UK.
Their secret source is the fact that it's girls go and see them, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and they did that night in Birmingham as well, and it was fantastic.
That's probably why it didn't hit us like we were expecting. It was way more people there for Crue because it was the girls, and girls don't go to see the bands that we go to see normally.
Anyway, on that bombshell, that's Mötley Crüe. That's Dr. Feelgood. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like, subscribe, give us some comments. If you want to see some clips of Mötley Crüe in the summer, go to our live channel. There's a couple of clips of them and Def Leppard. So give it a whirl. I tried my best. I was down standing, not too far away from the stage, but I must say security were a little bit difficult on that evening, which was a bit weird to say the least. Anyway, so that's our live channel. Check it out. If you want to find us on Facebook, we're on Tales from the PowerAge. We're on X, on Twitter, on TTFTPR. So please give us a shout and get involved. We're online on www.talesfromthepowerage.com. And if you want some merchandise, we're on redbubble.com merch. So check it out. Anyway, like I said, if you've enjoyed this, or even if you haven't, give us a subscribe, hit the hell's bell, get involved. It really helps us out, and it gives us the energy to come back and do more. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers, guys.